Hello folks, this is Sula once again. Welcome to another video for Teamfight Tactics. I haven't recorded any video for Teamfight Tactics for the last couple of weeks, and the reason for that is I have not been playing Teamfight Tactics. I was not a big fan of some of the changes made in set 3, not to the actual set, but to some of the underlying mechanics in terms of player damage and win streaking. But there's a new patch out today as I record this, patch 10.8, and so there's some changes to some of these elements which we're going to be talking about. In fact, there's also a new galaxy type, the super dense galaxy, as you see here. So we'll talk a little bit about what that does and also talk a bit about some of the changes in this patch as we watch the background footage. And of course, I'll be casting this game as well, might as well. So what were some of the issues that I had with Teamfight Tactics in set 3? Well, I previewed some of these when I was covering the end of set 2 and the beginning of set 3. I both put in a video that went up on YouTube and wrote about on my website that I was very concerned about two of the changes that they were making. The first thing that Riot did was they changed how the player damage functioned in this game. Player damage is, of course, how much damage that you take when you lose a round. And that it has a pretty big influence on how the game is played. Basically what they did is they changed it so most of the damage that you took after losing a round was a flat amount. That was the same regardless of how many champions survived. So they increased the flat damage that you took per round, but decreased the amount that you took based on how many enemy champions were alive. That was something that I was not a fan of. I really liked it in set 2, how if you just barely lost a fight, you wouldn't take much damage, but if you got absolutely destroyed, you would take a lot of damage. It just seems like that makes sense. Seems like it makes sense that for a close loss, you shouldn't take that much damage, but if you get absolutely blown out, you should take a lot of damage. So that was a change that they made. They wanted to make how much damage you took per round a little bit easier to understand, but I think it was a pretty big step backwards. The net effect of that was that basically everyone was reaching late game in every single match in the first couple patches of set number 3. And this was paired with the change to win streaking. They basically enormously dialed up the benefit to having a streak, such that if you won 3 or more games in a row, you were getting 3 gold per round. Similarly, if you lost 3 or more rounds in a row, you would get 3 gold per round. The net effect of that was you basically had to either win streak or loss streak. It didn't really matter which it was, but you had to be either win streaking or loss streaking. You could not alternate wins and losses. If you were just going win, loss, win, loss, win, loss, you were going to get absolutely destroyed by anyone who is either win streaking or loss streaking. Not a great way to go. So I really didn't like that, just because the ability to maintain a win streak often tends to be somewhat random. By the way, here you're going to see me make this red buff on Graves. I was hoping that I would be able to find more Cybernetics champs and maybe play Cybernetics. I was also thinking maybe I could get Lucian here and play Blasters, making use of that red buff. But for right now, I'm just going to play the Graves and see what happens, playing also Malphite and the Blitzcrank to get the 2 Brawler benefit. So again, reason why I don't like that is it's pretty luck dependent as far as how the win streaks and loss streaks go. Yes, obviously, if you're stronger, you're more likely to win streak. If you're weaker, you're more likely to loss streak. But the big problem is sometimes you can be one of the strongest comps and just get unlucky in terms of who you're facing. Similarly, at other points in time, you can be very weak but still win rounds just because, again, you get kind of lucky in terms of who you're facing. So a lot of it's just pretty luck dependent on who you're facing. Not entirely, certainly, but a little too luck dependent. And when so much of the economy was tied into win streaks or loss streaks, it just, I don't know, it made the game a little too RNG dependent. It also had the net effect when combined with the player damage changes of really incentivizing loss streaks. Intentionally losing rounds was really popular in the first 2 patches. I just don't think that the game should incentivize deliberately losing. Like, people were just, well, what they call open fording. In other words, not even attempting to play champs, just like leaving an open board, or just having like 1 or 2 champs that are ridiculously weak, not even making any attempt to win the round. I mean, I watched someone on stream deliberately lose the first 11 rounds of the match in a row and just get a ton of gold off of it. And they're just like, this doesn't matter. I don't care. And then they just put together a late game team comp and then they won anyway. Sure, if you're doing that, you have less health to play around with. Yes, having less health in the late game is not ideal, but loss streaking way too good. Anyway, so overall, the first couple patches did not do enough to incentivize winning, in my opinion. And they also made it far too easy to make it to late game even if you didn't have very much. It basically de-incentivized the early game and de-incentivized the mid game, such that all that really mattered was how strong your comp was at the very end of the game. And it was almost basically impossible to eliminate anyone before the end of the game. Everyone would make it to the end of the game in every single match. None of that I thought was particularly healthy for the game as far as the gameplay went. It shouldn't matter if you're strong in the mid game. Like, I would be playing these games where I would win like 9 rounds in a row in the mid game, and it would just be completely irrelevant because the damage that I dealt to those other players was super small. Everyone would reach late game regardless, and winning all those rounds in the middle of the game just didn't really have much of an effect. It was just who can make a strong comp at the very end of the game, which is still a skill, don't get me wrong, but I don't know. It just personally rubbed me the wrong way. So I just kind of stopped playing for like really 2 weeks because I was so frustrated and so fed up with the way that the gameplay existed. Just thought that there was a pretty big mistake in terms of the changes that Riot had made and hoped that they would revert those changes, which fortunately they have in this patches. They have not gone all the way back to set 2, but they have definitely changed it so that if you are getting smashed in rounds, you're going to take a lot more damage. And similarly, if you're just very narrowly losing, you're not going to take much damage at all. For example, I've lost 2 out of the 3 rounds thus far, but I've only lost 6 health because both times I lost, I had very close losses. I only took 2 damage from the first round because I lost and there was only 1 champion alive on the other side. So that's a big plus. The win streaks and loss streaks were nerfed a bit. Now you have to get up to, I think you have to win or lose, I think 4 rounds in a row. It's either 4 or 5 rounds in a row now to get the same effect as you had previously. So definitely toned that down and made it quite a bit weaker. As far as what's going on in the game right now, I'm still hoping to find more blasters because I have this early red buff, which is a really good item on a blasters team comp. Still have not found any of the other blasters champs. I'm really kind of looking for a Lucian here because Lucian will let me play blasters too, plus also let me get cybernetics in play, but I have not been able to find that unit just yet. I grabbed a BF sword off the carousel because again, BF sword will synergize with a lot of these team compositions. And even if it's not going to go into a blaster setup, I will still have the opportunity to find a chain vest and just make Guardian Angel, which is good in almost any team composition. Guardian Angel is a really useful item to have. So we're up against someone who was playing something very similar. I think this was also like a Chrono plus Brawler setup, something very similar. Here I was hoping that the Fiora would get killed, but Blitz not attacking that target. So not as good there, and now I've lost the last couple rounds in a row. Would have liked to have won. If I'd won that round, I might have sold one of the units on my bench to get to 20 gold, but didn't quite have that. So almost through this first rotation, one of the things I'll point out is look at the one person who's on a loss streak, Kata Vla. That person's at 74 health, so they've lost all 4 rounds. They're on a loss streak, but they've lost a lot of health, like way more health than they would have lost in the previous patches. So this is genuinely introducing some more danger into the early and mid game. You can't just have nothing in your team comp and just expect to loss streak and have everything be fine. If you don't have anything, you're going to start taking real damage again. And like I said before, I think that that's good for the overall health of the game. Like you should feel afraid to just play nothing. You should need to run something in your team composition. In any case, though, so this is a much closer round. I'm hoping I can get the Darius before he ults, and I did. Now it's between me and this 2-star Graves. The enemy Kate gets off a nice ult, but then a good smoke cloud gets her. That red buff is ticking away on the enemy Graves. Go red buff, go red buff. And yeah, so I'm able to win this round. See, in the previous patches, that would have been a disaster, interrupting my loss streak. That would have been really bad. But here it's something that's, pretty good. I avoid taking damage, and now hopefully I can get on a win streak. So here, normally for the Krugs, you would think, hey, I should probably level and put in another champ here. But what I forget to realize is, as soon as I hit level 5, I actually get to put a 6th unit in. It's like, well, wait a minute, what's this? I get to play 6 units? Well, that's because this particular galaxy gives you a Force of Nature when you hit level 5. It's a really neat concept. I find that some of the other galaxies to be pretty gimmicky, but this one I like. I like it because right at the beginning of the game, you can see what it's going to be. It doesn't kick in and have any effects right away, but it does mean that like as soon as you hit level 5, you're going to get to play an extra champ, and like it's not like the 125 extra health galaxy, which I think is just stupid. It doesn't really serve any purpose. It's not the 4 cost units on initial carousel, which I'm not a big fan of because the initial carousel, like it's just like kind of, you have like 2 seconds to figure out what you're going to play. Not enough time. But this one, like you can see at the beginning of the game what the situation's going to be, and you also have time, like you've got like the first 5 or 6 rounds of the game to sit here and think about what you want to play and start building a comp around it. Anyway, I also got lucky in that Illusion dropped off of that last minion round, so that's allowed me to sell some of the units I didn't want to play. The Caitlyn was already only in there for Chrono, and then I just tossed the Ashen for the minion round so I would have Sniper. But this has allowed me to make a comp that is actually something good. So Cybernetic 3, we've got the Fiora, the Leona, and the Lucian, all with the Cybernetic health and damage bonus. And then I've got the 2 Brawlers in here. I still have the Malphite and Blitz in there. I'm hoping to go into 4 Brawlers later on. Was thinking about buying that Kale, but ultimately decided not to. And then now I've also got 2 Blasters in there. I've got the Ezreal in as well, and I've got a Graves that's sitting on my bench. I had to sell the Graves to transfer over the red buff, but that's fine. Graves is not a super key unit in this comp. He'll be replaced by a Misfortune eventually anyway. And now I have something that's pretty strong overall. I've got really good items on the Lucian. Giant Slayer red buff, great items to play in a Blasters comp. The Giant Slayer means that Lucian will attack more often, he'll do more damage, he gets extra attack speed, all of his auto attacks do that percentage of maximum health, and the red buff means that those extra blaster attacks will apply the red buff on hit effect, which will deal true damage and burn the target. So really good stuff. Obviously it'd be great now if I can 2-star the Lucian, but this is pretty good here. Overall, this is good stuff. And you noticed I won that last round pretty decisively, and I'm hoping that I can win this round pretty decisively as well. We are up against, by the way, that Kata Vla, the person who was lost streaking through the early game. Looks like that person has found something a little bit more, but still has taken a lot of damage. And again, they're like taking way more damage than they would have taken earlier. They're at 61 health. So just keep an eye on the health totals over there in comparison to what we've been seeing if you've been playing the last couple patches of Teamfight Tactics. So it looks like I'm going into a Blasters team comp here. I wasn't guaranteed, like that wasn't necessarily my intention going into the game, but that's what I've got. I'm going to play what I've been given up to this point in time. And I think I've got a pretty good setup. So what am I thinking about kind of long-term with this team comp? I get the extras. I basically got like an extra slot here thanks to the Force of Nature. So what can I play that I might not normally be able to play? Well, the way I was thinking is Blasters typically wants to be paired with Brawlers, so I can play Blasters plus Brawlers, 4 Blasters, 4 Brawlers. Really nice late game setup. I don't know if it's definitely not like the best overall composition, but it's pretty good. And it's been pretty strong for the last couple patches. Also pretty easy team comp to play. Then I'll also get the chance to play some other stuff, and I think I will probably want to play maybe Cybernetics. I could also potentially look to go into more Chrono. Chrono, I believe, got buffed a little bit in this most recent patch. The only thing is the late game team fights typically don't last long enough for Chrono to be all that great. It's a little bit like the Lunar trait in set 2, where your champions would get stronger the longer the match went on. The matches just tend not to last long enough for Chrono to be all that effective in the late game. So I'll have to think it over, but those are kind of the directions that I'm thinking about. Obviously, I'm going to want to find a Jinx. Jinx will be the main carry. I want to find a Misfortune later on and hopefully go from there. So here I'm looking at the different items. I kind of wanted the Chain Vest because I wanted to be able to build towards a Guardian Angel, but Chain Vest gets snapped up, and out of the items that are left over, I figured, I'll go for that BF Sword. Why not? Seems like it could be a useful item to pick up, more useful than some of these other things. So I went ahead and grabbed that. Now the only issue is I actually wanted to sell one of these Blitzcranks because those 3 Blitzes are going to combine, and then the BF Sword is going to be on the Blitzcrank, which is not what I want, but the game no longer allows you to sell in that situation. So I was like, all right, well, I'll just look for more Blitzcranks down the road. I can always look to sell another Blitz. If I find another Blitz, I can always look to buy a Blitz and then sell that one to get the BF Sword off of the Blitzcrank. So we'll see. But yeah, I was kind of hoping I could get a Chain Vest so I could maybe look to build towards a Guardian Angel. Still, instead, I've gotten the Sword component, and then I'll hopefully look to find the Chain Vest after that. So I went ahead and leveled. I had enough experience to level up to 6. I went ahead and put the 2-star Graves in just because he'll get the Blaster's bonus. Doesn't really do anything beyond that, but just having another 2-star champion in there should be useful. And here I'm going to get a nice pull right onto that Ashe. So, yep, just took out that champion instantly. Kind of amusing how Lucian then dashes into the Nico root on the ground there. But we are tearing up this round pretty easily. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Yeah, all my units survived, so we did a lot of damage to that person, Kobe to champ. So yeah, we did quite a bit of damage. And that other person who's been win streaking, Tiraken, did in fact lose a round. So they're gonna, yeah, look at that, somebody playing the Pirates team comp there and getting a lot. This is a really nice roll for me here though, because look, I find a Cho and I also find a Vi here. So this means I can look to go ahead and get Brawlers 4 in. So I'm gonna take out the Graves. I'm going to look to put in, look to take out the Fiora, replace her, put in Vi, and then put in Cho. There we go. The Leona will also be able to be replaced later on. I think the Leona I want to replace with with an Aurelia later on. And then I'm just going to toss that Needlessly Large Rod onto Vi just so she'll get the Cybernetic bonus. But here we go. 4 Brawlers. All 4 Brawlers getting the extra health bonus. They're actually quite tanky for this stage of the game. This is pretty early to have 4 Brawlers in. It is very nice having that extra champion via the Force of Nature. Yes, everybody else gets that as well. But unlike someone like Lancer, who's just sitting there with like 17 items unused on his bench, I'm actually using my stuff. And this has always been kind of the way that I've typically played Teamfight Tactics. I like to use the resources that you get, as opposed to sitting around waiting for like the absolute most perfect item combinations possible. That's one of the reasons why I was struggling in the previous patches, because it actually was the right play to just sit and wait until you had absolutely most perfect items possible, because the mid game really didn't matter. It was just all about the end game and who can build the strongest possible end game team comp. So, like I said, I kind of struggled with that, and I just had trouble getting into that mentality. But now we're back to the mid-game actually mattering again. I mean, look, the lowest person only has 36 health right now. We're here at, well, this used to be the Wolves. I don't know what the heck these space creatures are, but this used to be the Wolves round. And yeah, someone's down at 36 health. Like, they're unlikely to be able to stick in this until later on in the game. So anyway, there I get another Vi, which is pretty cool. And I get double Nikos. I was like, ooh. Double Nikos helps. Well, that's interesting. So now I can put in another unit, and I'll put the Graves back in for lack of anything else. I'm really hoping I can find a Jinx here. And I'm looking at some of these items. It's like, Deathblade. I actually have got even more BF swords. I've got kind of a whole lot of BF swords here. So it's definitely right to be playing a Blasters team comp based off of the items that I've gotten here. With this many BF swords, you need to play something like that. I was thinking maybe I'll... I decided to go ahead and make an Infinity Edge. I was planning at the time that I did this, I was thinking, you know what, I'm going to have to sell this Lucian anyway because I'm going to want to transfer these items over to Jinx later on in the game. Maybe I can put an Infinity Edge onto a future Aurelia because I'm planning on playing Aurelia in this team comp, and Infinity Edge is pretty good on her. So this person's playing the Yasuo, what's been affectionately known as the Bang Brothers team comp, which is based on 3-star Yasuo and 3-star Master Yi. Riot was actually going to buff those champions in this patch and then saw how strong the Yi and the Yasuo were and decided not to buff them. Look at all the gold that person's getting with their Pirates team comp. I don't know if that's any good, but they certainly are pulling in a lot of money. So here, just looking to level, I want to try to get up to level 8 and then look to go up to level 9 after that. I'm on a pretty lengthy winning streak. I'm on a 7-match winning streak. I've been focusing on this comp, Tiraken, because that's the other person who has a ton of health. That person's running a Kale-based comp, so I've been trying to position in such a way that I'll be able to deal with that team composition. Ideally, I'd be able to kill the Kale at the start of a fight. I don't know if I'll be able to do that, but I'm positioning the Vi on the left-hand side because I figured that the Vi would be most likely to kill the Kale if that happens. Here, I'm actually going to get a nice setup. I'm actually going to grab the Jhin right at the start of the fight, so this is pretty good stuff in order to, just kind of pop that key unit right at the start of the fight. And so we actually clean up this battle pretty easily as well. Kadavla. Looks like that person's going for a Darkstar team composition. And we'll see how they manage to put that one together. They have an absolutely full bench, so it looks like they rushed to level 7, and now they're slow rolling at 7 to try to 3-star units. I am instead going to try to get up to level, level 9, so that I can play 10 units and hope that that overcomes someone having maybe 3-star units. So here I managed to find the Jinx. I need to go ahead and sell the Lucian and look to transfer some of these items over, but I figured I would wait another round. I wanted to keep the items on to Lucian. Oh, you know what it is? I wanted to wait until I could go to level 8 before I transferred the items over, and I was planning to go to level 8 after this round was over, after the next carousel. All right, so here I'm up against a person who has the least amount of health. This person's also running a a Jin-based composition. Unfortunately, this time we are not able to pop the Jin immediately, and that Jin's going to get a lot of damage. The other thing that really hurts us here is that Mordekaiser gets his ult off and soaks up a ton of damage. So we actually do finally lose this round. The win streak is interrupted, and so after winning all those rounds, I do finally end up taking a loss there. A little bit sad. I think if the Mord had failed to get its ult off, I might have actually won that round. But then the other person who's in has a lot of health. Tirakin also loses that round. So once again, I'm really looking for the Giants, or not the Giants, but I'm looking for the Chain Vest here because I want to make a Guardian Angel. It's really important that Jinx have a Guardian Angel, but of course the Chain Vest disappears immediately, so I was like, that's distinctly not so good. Really would have liked to have put that together. So with that not being an option, I look on here and I'm like, the next best option, probably the tier, so I can make a Seraphs, and then I can put it on Misfortune. Misfortune's much better if you can put a Seraphs on here. So this is going to go on to Misfortune eventually, or at least that's the plan. 2 tiers for a Seraph's Embrace, cause Misfortune to get her ult off much faster. Obviously, I will replace the Graves with the Misfortune eventually. So I'm just going to go ahead and I think the plan was first I'm going to level, and I was thinking about playing Thresh because he's another Chrono unit, but first let's transfer these over. So we got to put Lucian back in, and we'll put the Jinx in, so that gets Blasters 4 in. Now I need to move these items over. Oh, don't want the Nico's help. That bench is getting a little too full there. So we'll go ahead and put the Giant Slayer and the red buff on, or I put the red buff on Lucian. I think I put the IE on Jinx. I probably should have saved that in retrospect. Probably should have saved that, but I was still hoping to get the Guardian Angel for that 3rd item on Jinx. That was the logic. Well, you can see why the Guardian Angel's needed right there, because Syndra ults the Jinx. If I've got the Guardian Angel, she's totally fine. She just comes back to life. Fortunately, the rest of the team is able to pick up Jinx here, cover for her. But you can see why I want the Guardian Angel, so that she doesn't just get popped and killed like that. So that a random Syndra ult or whatever the heck is flying in doesn't finish her off, since she's the most important unit in this team composition, at least in terms of dealing damage. So here, like I said, I'm just going to go ahead and give this to Gangplank. Now you might be like, why in the world would you have a Seraphs on Gangplank? Well, he's just holding it until I find Misfortune. I'm going to be able to get to 9 pretty quickly. I'm pretty confident that I'll find Misfortune at level 9. I'm actually going to roll here because I wanted to try to get the Jinx 2-star. That was my hope anyway. And I should have picked up the Blitzcrank, by the way. Instead, though, I do manage to hit the Lucian 2-star. And I was like, all right, now that I've got the Lucian 2-star, I think I'm in a good enough position to look to win and get to go to level 9. So I'm going to stop leveling here, if I remember correctly, now that I've got the Lucian 2-star again. I think Lucian plus the Jinx with those items should be strong enough to get me through a lot of these. That MF, though, did a lot of damage on the other team, but we just barely have enough health to get through this. Thank you, Brawlers 4 and Cybernetic. Really needed the extra health there. So even with the 700 health or whatever it is for Brawlers 4, Malphite has like 50 HP left, maybe even less than that. So yeah, definitely do not survive to make it through that fight without all that extra health from Brawlers. So you can see why I want my own Misfortune. Definitely want to be able to put her into this team comp. And again, I'm tempted by the Kale, and this time I do pick up the Kale. I didn't earlier, but I was like, you know what? I'm gonna have Misfortune later on, so I can put Kale in here. And because we've got the extra unit, I should be able to make Blade Masters as well. So I'll be able to have Brawler 4, Blaster 4, Cybernetic 3, Chrono 2, and then I should be able to get Kale in there for Valkyrie as well with the Misfortune. That's the plan, at least. This is our last mini round, so again, I really want a Chain Vest to drop. Really need that Chain Vest, and that's not a Chain Vest, so... yeah. So I've been trying to make Guardian Angel for like the last half of the game, and just not getting it, unfortunately. I was like, that's really disappointing that that's not going to be there. But hey, at least I can make Jinx 2-star, so that's nice. Now that I made the Jinx 2-star, I'm definitely not going to roll. So now I need to do the best thing I can to give Jinx a defensive item, and the best thing I can think to do is to make a Bloodthirster on her so that she has some lifesteal incoming. I also still really want to replace this Leona. Like, I can just get another Cybernetics unit. I'd like to get Aurelia because I want another Blade Master for the potential to play Blade Master later on with Kale. But, yeah, I have not managed to find an Aurelia yet. Not so far. I am also positioning the Jinx right next to Blitz. Blitz will pull someone at the start of the fight, and that helps give Jinx someone to kill so she can get excited. Unfortunately, though, she gets jumped on by Yasuo, and, well, again, you see the issue with not having a Guardian Angel. She does not come back to life because she doesn't have the revive. It's really the key item that I need on her, but unfortunately I don't have it. And I don't have a Quicksilver Sash either. Maybe I could have looked to make Quicksilver on her, but I really do need one of those 2 items. Still, I'll keep picking up the Jinxes. I have 4 Jinxes right now, and hey, I do have that double Nico. So if I can get a couple more Jinxes, nobody else seems to be playing her. If I can get a couple more Jinxes here, that would sure be nice. But in the meantime, yeah, I do have that item combination, and you know what? In retrospect, I really should have made a Rage Blade for Kale. That would have been really good, especially with Chrono in this comp. But I don't think I ended up doing that. When I remember, should have put those 2 items on the Kale, because I'm going to end up looking to play the Kale. I don't know why I didn't see that. Well, some things you don't see until you look back and watch the video afterwards. Anyway. All right, so here's another one of these rounds. I do want to call attention to, look at the health bars on the right-hand side. We have a player at 5 health, or 7 health, and a player at 10 health. So, like, we're about to see players eliminated from the game. If either one of those players loses one more round, they're basically out of the match. And we're only on stage 5 too, so this is about when players would start getting eliminated back. And yeah, there we go, Lancer out of the game. This is about when players would start getting eliminated back in set 2 of Teamfight Tactics. But in the earlier patches in set 3, you just wouldn't see this. Like, everyone would still have way more health, except for someone who happened to be win streaking. But yeah, like, people are low. People are gonna have to start rolling down. Like, look at Best Dentist NA. Great name, by the way. Best Dentist NA is running one of those protector comps where you stay at level 6 and just roll to try to 3-star your units. Again, that's not gonna work as well in this new patch, because if you don't find those units pretty quickly, you're gonna end up dying. Like, there's just not much room for error now in these patches. So anyway, there's the new Xerath, by the way. If you haven't seen Xerath, he's brand new in this patch. We managed to pop him pretty quickly, but yeah, so he is in the game now. This is Kata Vla, and that person is getting low. So yeah, now they're they're down to 3 hit points. So they're 1 round away from being eliminated as well. In fact, if I had like 2 more units survive, then they would have been eliminated right there, and they would have gotten like 7th place or something. So not much room for error. That person has to win every single round for the rest of the game, or else they're going to be eliminated. And that's another person who was trying to go for a 3-star champion strategy, but managed to pick up the Xerath there, so that's pretty good for their Dark Star team composition. Anyway, I wanted that Guardian Angel, but of course not going to get Guardian Angel. So out of the items that are left, I'm just going to grab the Morellos. And my logic was I'll put this on Cho, so that way anyone who gets hit by the Cho ult will end up taking the damage from, will end up taking the Morello's burn effect. And it also gives a little bit of extra health to Cho as well. Not much more, considering how much health he already has, but a little bit more. So let's go ahead, and I'm going to look to level shortly. I think I'm going to go to level, yeah, there we go, a little bit more health for Cho. I think I'm going to go to level 9 after this upcoming round. Either that or I'm going to wait till the minion round. I'm trying to recall. But I did want to try to get up to level 9 relatively quickly because the end of the game is rapidly approaching here. There's not that much time before the game is over. I'm a little bit disappointed that I haven't found an Aurelia yet, and I haven't found a Misfortune yet. Like, I really would like to take out the Leona, who's not really doing much of anything, and look to put the what do I say? And look to put in an Aurelia instead. Here, yeah, so here's where I was not thinking. I should have just held those items and looked to play them on Kale. Rage Blade would have been much better on Kale than making a Death Cap on Vi so that her ults are stronger. There's another person playing a Jhin-based team composition right there. Jhin plus Darkstar. Very popular in the last patch. I suspect it'll be popular in this patch as well. Other reason why that's dumb is now I've just got that recurve bow sitting around, and there's really nothing to do with that recurve bow. It's just kind of an extra item. That's not nearly as useful as if I were able to get a Rage Blade on Kale, since that's one of her key items. Good news is I get another Jinx here, and I think I go ahead and level here. I definitely should have waited until, yeah. I think this is also a mistake in retrospect. I should have seen that there was a minion round coming up and looked to take advantage of that. So here, I do manage to find another Jinx. I was like, oh, I only need to find one more Jinx here. Just one Jinx away. Also, where's that Misfortune? And I find the 2-star Cho. That's pretty good as well. And I do realize I should be playing the Kayle over the Shen, but because again, I want to unlock Valkyrie when I find Misfortune. But yeah, really should have looked to make a Rage Blade on the Kayle, just because that increases her damage by such a huge amount once she starts stacking up that attack speed. Jinx gets taken out by the Yasuo, no surprise there. Knew that that was going to happen, but hey, the rest of this Yasuo plus Yi team comp is kind of falling apart here pretty quickly. So if we can just finish off this Master Yi, come on, there we go. Lucian, clutch there, managing to get the kill. Of course, we don't do very much damage to best Dentist NA, because look, we only just barely won that round. So we don't end up taking much damage. And oh, what do we have here? That looks like 7 Jinxes. So there we go. Jinx 3-star. I almost never 3-star any of my units, and yet I have 2 videos now that have a Jinx 3-star. It's pretty amazing that this has happened multiple times now. But I still have to find the Misfortune. I mean, I've got a Seraph's on the, and yeah, you see me go ahead and make that. Would it be much better to have the certainly would be much better to have the Rage Blade on the Kayle than the Giant Slayer on Blitzcrank and the Death Cap on Vi. So yeah, oh well. Gotta remember that for the future. But still, Misfortune, where is she? Still waiting on that Misfortune. I've got the Seraphs on Graves. I've been playing that, just holding the item, waiting for Misfortune to arrive. And the comp's pretty much set at this point. I just need MF to go in place of Graves. There's the Aurelia, so I will go ahead and make that switch. Let's get Aurelia in here, and she can hold on to the Force of Nature, just so she gets an item for the Cybernetics benefit. There we go. So we've got 2 out of 3 Blade Master. We also could play Echo here. I did think about it, but I decided to hold on to the... Yeah, I decided to hold on to the Aurelia instead. Where is that Misfortune? There's another Aurelia. Where's the Misfortune? Still trying to find her. I mean, I'm at level 9. I have pretty good odds to find her. I go ahead and put the Frozen Heart onto the Cho, just because it'll help him get his ult off faster. And the ult does hit the Jinx, or excuse me, not the Jinx, the Jhin. And that's really important in this fight. Now, it's still not going to be enough for us to win this match, but if we were going to win, that would have been the way to do it. So Kata Vla survives again on 3 HP. I really feel like if I had a Misfortune in that fight, I would have won that and eliminated that player. Like, a Misfortune ult would have been really, really game-changing there. But nope, still can't seem to find her. Where is she? Where's the Misfortune? Still can't seem to find her. The good news is I banked enough health in the mid game that now I really am likely to get a pretty good finish, just because I had that extra health, and unlike previous patches, that extra health really does matter. So yeah, I'm just, the only thing I'm waiting on is I just really need to find the Misfortune, because that will allow me to keep all the current bonuses plus get the Valkyrie bonus in for the Kayle. And here we get a pull on the Xerath. That's pretty nice. So we just have to deal with that Jhin, and we're getting pretty good damage over there. Now we'll have to kill him twice because of that Guardian Angel. But oh, this is pretty close. Can we do it? Nope, not quite. But again, good news. I take very little damage because there's only one enemy champ still surviving. Unlike in the previous patches where it basically didn't matter at all how many champs were alive. If you, if you won the match, or excuse me, if you lost the match and there was one enemy champ still alive, then you would, still take ridiculously high damage. So yeah, I didn't take too much damage because of that. Here, I'll grab the 2-star Aurelia, but I'm like, seriously, like, guys, where's the Misfortune? I literally have everything I need to play this comp, except the Misfortune still not here. And no one else is playing MF. Like, there's literally 0 other MFs on the board for any of these other champs. If you're wondering why I'm looking at this, guys, I was pretty sure that's who I was going to be up against based on how the recent matches had shaken out. I had recently played Kata Vla, and I had recently played Muraled. So I was like, all right, I think I'm going to play Arional next. And I actually like the way that my board is set up against this person. That's because the Zephyr was going... Oh, I thought the Zephyr was going to hit Malphite, so I guess I could have repositioned a little bit better there. But otherwise, I liked how the board was set up. The GP ult does not hit most of my team. That's pretty lucky. But we get a nice Cho ultimate, and then Jinx! Oh my god, Jinx gets off one rocket that just, like, kills the entire enemy team. And we barely win that one. Yeah, I thought I was going to lose that one, but apparently no. Jinx just pops off and manages to get that humongous rocket that hit the entire team. It was the blaster bonus. And here I'm going to grab the Blade of the Ruined King. I was like, nice, I'm one away from Blade Master. I'll just toss that on one of my champs and Now I've got Blade Master in effect. So literally I have everything I want in my comp, with the one exception of not having a Guardian Angel, which would be ideal. But yeah, I'm going to toss this on Lucian. He's like my secondary carry. And now I just got to find that Misfortune. Where is she? I'm seeing all the other... I've literally seen every other legendary unit in this game. Where is she? Where's the MF? Wow, where is she? Why am I still playing this? Why am I still playing this 2-star Graves with the Seraphs? Where's the Misfortune? Well, she's not here, and unfortunately now God of Law, who survived with 3 HP, has now managed to 3-star the Shaco. And again, I don't have a Guardian Angel for the Jinx, which is what I need, because as soon as Shaco hits the Jinx, she's gonna die. Yep. So you see, I end up losing this round. I mean, he's got a very strong Jhin back there. He's got a 2-star Xerath, so his comp is quite strong. And yeah, so the Misfortune has never shown up the entire game. And that's pretty unlucky because no one has been playing the MF. So I was like, all right, let me try to shift the formation around, try to protect Jinx, try to maybe box her in here in the corner so that the enemy Shaco can't jump on top of her. That's what I'm trying to do. I don't have a Zephyr, so I can't try to like Zephyr the Shaco out. But this is a very good player. God of Law knows what he or she's doing. So, of course, has also repositioned the Shaco. As soon as he saw me repositioning, moves the Shaco right over to jump on top of the Jinx. And yeah, Jinx gets popped immediately. And without Jinx's damage, I can't win this fight, unfortunately. So yeah, unfortunately end up losing this one. Can't win them all. I was pretty happy with how that went. I legitimately think if I had found the Misfortune, I would have won this lobby. That, and if I could have gotten a Guardian Angel on Jinx, I also think I would have had a good shot. So take second place. That's all right. I'll live with that. No one else could apparently knock that person out. And hey, I actually knocked the God of Law person down to 3 health earlier. If I had had like 1 or 2 more units survive, I actually would have knocked them out in 7th place. So, like I said, close difference between success and failure in this game. Anyway, once again, thanks for watching. Thanks for listening. Definitely enjoy this patch much more. So, hope you guys are having a good week. See you guys soon. Take care.